Annyeonghaseyo, all my beautiful people. Welcome to the alternate point of view, and I am your host, Tracy Lee. Welcome back if you are returning guests, and welcome if you are new. Tonight we are reviewing 4 days worth of trial for a woman accused, Howington versus the state of Tennessee. She is accused for a 2019 murder of her 5-year-old daughter. This case is very interesting because, well, I've had to catch up on 4 days worth of trial, but apparently on September 12th of 2019, around between 8:30 and 9 o'clock at night, Miss Howington and her 2 children, a 2-year-old Gavin and a 5-year-old Harmony, I think her daughter's name was, Destiny came home, and somehow her 5-year-old was shot in the chest. And several different stories transpired from the mother. One was that a random black man came in and shot her daughter, and then it turned into another story of her baby daddy, the 5-year-old daughter's father, killed her. Then it turned into a story of the baby daddy killed the daughter, but then her new boyfriend came in, and then it turned into the 2-year-old took a stool from the kitchen, drug it from the kitchen through the living room to her bedroom closet, climbed up on the stool, and took the gun out of the top of her closet that was sealed in a bag and pulled it out of the closet and came out of the closet into the living room where she and the daughter's father were arguing, and he pulled the trigger on this gun and ended up shooting his sister. Then the story changed to that the baby daddy wasn't even there at all. Then the story changed to it was just so many different stories. So I don't know who killed Destiny. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I believe a 2-year-old could put the nearly 6 pounds of pressure on the trigger, or if there was even a round in the chamber, or if the safety was on or off of the weapon. I don't know. There's so many questions unanswered. Also, a twist in the story is that the mother threw the gun outside of the house while she was on the phone with 911. She throws the weapon outside after wiping it down. So I'm not really sure if she was protecting her 2-year-old, who may have actually done this by accident, or if she was protecting herself because she did it. I'm just super confused as to what happened. The stories were just ridiculous, complete a mess of stories. The cops really thought that it could have been a domestic issue because there were several domestic issues between the father of Destiny and this woman. So they really did believe that there could have been an issue where this father, Antoine, could have been there. But then she claimed that the father just kind of ran out of the house when this happened. I just find that kind of strange. There was so many strange twists and turns in the story. She never had the same story twice, and she kept adding details and taking away details. She is visibly upset in court, but she keeps saying that she's trying to protect her 2-year-old, which is really, really strange. I find it more plausible that if the 2-year-old did it, that would have been more of a story to tell than to say that she and her ex were fighting and the 2-year-old felt the need to protect her and would drag a stool all the way into the bedroom and climb on top of that and get a gun out of the top of the closet and then come in and pull the trigger. And there are variables involved. Like I said, was there around in the chamber? Was the safety on? Could a 2-year-old pull the trigger with enough pressure? And also, there are studies out there that show 3-year-olds that are able to pull the trigger of a weapon, but with 2 fingers, not one. And also, a 2-year-old, he was the height of a 2-year-old. How tall was the stool? And would he have been able to climb up? I mean, this was a very short amount of time. I have a time span of how long it took them to get into the house, how long it took the guy to go into the house, because all of this is on camera, by the way, from a neighbor's camera they had on their house. You can see it's very fuzzy. It was hard for me to watch, but you can see what time they went into the house, how many minutes had passed, how many seconds had passed. And so it wasn't a very long period of time. So I found it kind of difficult to believe that a 2-year-old had time to drag a stool all the way from the kitchen through the house to the bedroom, climb up on this stool, get to the top of the closet, get the gun, take it out of this plastic bag, get back into the living room, and maneuver it to figure out and then shoot his sister. I don't know. The mom is at the end of the day accused of murdering the 5-year-old daughter. The defense is using accidental shooting as the defense. They are still trying to put it off on the 2-year-old, which I think is awful if that is, their defense. The mother is saying she was trying to protect her son. If the 2-year-old really did this, it would have been an accident. And I mean, honestly, like, the worst she would have been given is pretty much mishandling, endangerment of a child. I mean, like something like that. And obviously she was selling drugs, but I don't think the cops were as worried about that as they were about this death of a 5-year-old child. It was pretty traumatic. I mean, the cops that were on scene were pretty devastated. I will say the interview techniques that the cops used were pretty harsh, but they were pretty shaken by a 5-year-old child being shot in the chest. So it was very upsetting. I think the defense attorney was very rough. He was trying to state that, how the cops were pretty hard on taking her in for questioning after losing her daughter right away. Most cops do interview and interrogate immediately after an incident the person who was closest to the scene, because the information is fresh. It's right away. She immediately claimed that she didn't feel comfortable being in the room with 2 male police officers, as she had been raped by a police officer. And of course, I will say the police officer was pretty rude and was yelling at her and said, some pretty ugly things to her, like, how dare you say something like that and be concerned about yourself when your 5-year-old daughter is dead. And I can see kind of where he was coming from, but I could also see, her daughter just died, and they're trying to get some information, and they didn't build any rapport with her at all. They kind of bypassed all of that, and they could have gotten a woman to come in there and sit with her. They could have been like, we're so sorry for your loss. They could have taken a different approach, and maybe gotten a little bit more out of her. And maybe they wouldn't have gone through these hoops and jumped through so many circles. So I feel like their interview technique was pretty poor. I would say by not building a rapport with her, by not having any sympathy for this child, being shot and killed. I think they just went about it the wrong way. I think they would have gotten more of, I mean, maybe she still would have lied, but in an interview, an interrogation situation, you have to build rapport with the person. Even if you think they did it, you still have to build a rapport and get to know the person, get, like, okay, tell us about the events of the evening. Where were you before? What happened? Um, but instead, they were just kind of getting bits and pieces from the scene, and they were being fed information. They weren't getting the whole story. But even if you don't have any information, you literally go in, you sit down, you don't look at that person as a suspect right away. You really look at that person as a victim. Like, she just lost her daughter, okay? You have to go in with care and ease and just kind of, like, okay, let's talk about what happened. Where were you? What was going on? Who was in the house? What were you guys doing? Were you watching TV? Were you about to eat dinner? Were you doing homework? What happened? Did someone break in? You know, um, and also, by the way, she did destroy her phone. She was trying to hide evidence. So there were some things that she was doing that was quite suspicious and that did put the cops on high alert. But still, you have to follow the rules of interviews and interrogations, or you're not going to get out of the person the information that you want. So the prosecution did their entire case. They had the detectives on the stand. They had the first responding officer. They had the EMTs. They had the forensic analysis. They had the medical examiner. They had the gun expert. They had the gunpowder expert. I will say I was kind of disappointed they didn't have any gunpowder residue from or testing done on her hands or her 2-year-old son's hands. So we don't know who pulled the trigger. And they rested their case. The defense put up the mom as the witness. And she basically was sticking with her story that the 2-year-old did it and that she was under a lot of stress and she wasn't in her right mind and she didn't recall a whole lot. And she was just saying things and she was just trying to protect her 2-year-old. And she, was doing a lot of crying. I couldn't tell if she was crying real tears or if she was just kind of huffing and puffing. I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't. I really can't tell if I can believe anything that she's saying. So I'm not really sure what is true and what is a lie. So I don't think they got to closing arguments today. I think that tomorrow they'll begin closing arguments. But also I have to catch up on day 1 of James Crumbly's trial. So tomorrow I'm going to do James Crumbly's trial recap, day 1 and 2. So look forward to that. And then we will do the closing arguments as well of this trial. But it's just a really sad trial. I unfortunately do a lot of recaps of children's trials where children are killed by their parents for the most part. And it's really sad and it's really hard to watch. But I will do the recap of James Crumbly's trial. I already watched Jennifer Crumbly's trial. We can do a day recap of that because that trial already happened. So I can tell you all about that. I watched every single day of that trial. So I will do a recap of hers while we are touching on James Crumbly's trial because it is his turn. But this trial is just absolutely devastating. It happened in 2019 and we're in 2024. So it has already been 5 years almost since Destiny died. And so she would have been nearly 10 years old now. And I think it's really sad that this is happening. And I just am not sure what's going on. So anyway, that's the trial. 4 days. It went by really fast. So I think because the stories, the lies, the first a stranger, then the boyfriend, then the boyfriend and the ex-boyfriend and the new boyfriend, and then uh, the son, the 2-year-old son, and then she didn't recall, and then she didn't want to get in trouble, and then she destroyed evidence, and then it's just crazy. The story is crazy, and I still have no idea who actually pulled the trigger. I really don't, and she will never know the story. We'll never know the true full story of what really happened because she doesn't recall how her son got the gun. She says he pulled the stool all the way from the kitchen into her bedroom, but there's no showing how that happened. There's no she says she doesn't recall removing the stool from the closet before the cops got there, but she said she did it. She doesn't recall throwing the gun out into the yard, but she said she did it to protect her son. It's just maddening. I don't know what's true and what's not. So regardless, she's responsible. Her daughter is dead. She's responsible. Why would you have a gun where a 2-year-old could get it? But again, there's so many other variables. Like I said, was there a round in the chamber? Was the safety on or off? And could a 2-year-old pull the trigger? I mean, he's 2. So I don't know. I don't know. If anyone has any answers for that, please put that in the comments and let me know if a 2-year-old has the capability of pulling a trigger of a semi-automatic handgun. And again, there are studies out there for 3-year-olds, but they have to use both fingers. I'm not sure about a 2-year-old, and he wasn't a very big 2-year-old. They showed his little clothes, and I mean, he's just a little tot. He's a 2-year-old. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you have any thing to share about that. I'm really curious. But if you don't know anything about the trial, it is Howington versus Tennessee, or Tennessee versus Howington. It happened in 2019, and they are finally going to trial. And the trial is going by very quickly. But I was able to catch up on 4 days of trial today on super speed. So but it's really sad that a little girl lost her life, and there's no explanation. There's just nothing, and it's just terrible. So everyone, just think of Destiny, and think of Gavin, her little brother, who is now 7. And I hope that you keep these little kids in your mind, and know that I hope that poor Gavin doesn't think that he killed his sister. I hope that this isn't something he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. And I hope that he didn't do this. And I hope that his mom isn't making him think he did this, because I don't believe that that's what happened. So thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. And don't forget, there'll be a special episode this weekend about tragedy. So look forward to that. Please like, subscribe, and share, and turn that notification bell on. And I appreciate everyone who watches this channel. 감사합니다.